Every successful person has faced difficulties in their life and career. My guests will share with us the challenges they have overcome on the road to success. Every week we'll follow their story right here in Life with me, Patti Boulaye. Hello and welcome to Life with me, Patti Boulaye. My guest is the great Bobby Crush. He is a wonderful pianist, songwriter, actor, and television personality and presenter. Bobby was recently featured on the ITV series Last Laughs in Vegas. Bobby, welcome to my show.
Thank you, my darling.
You do a wicked Liberace.
Thank you very much.
That's all I can say.
I hear you do a wicked Judy Garland.
I love that. You say,
oh, yes.
Okay, that's
news
good.
travels fast. Because I love the Patties, you know. Patti Lupone, Patti LaBelle, Patti Boulaye.
Patti Boulaye.
Oh, yes. I love the Patties.
Patti Boulaye
Anyway,
is the best one.
you and I go back a long way, don't we?
We do.
Yeah. To the 70s.
Precisely.
And we both came off television talent shows.
That's right. Because you did Opportunity Knocks and I did New Faces.
I did, and I think I did my debut a few years before you did yours. I was 1972.
Mine was 78.
Oh, right.
And you were very young.
I was very young. I was 18. And by the time I reached my 19th birthday as a result of Opportunity Knocks, I'd had an album in the charts, I'd had a single in the charts, and I made my debut at the London Palladium. And that was all within weeks of being on the show. So
wow.
It was.
Well, we all remember you were so gorgeous.
Thank you.
You really were a gorgeous boy. No, you still are.
And now I'm like two fellas sewn together.
Stop it. Of course you're not. But
I was very slim.
You were.
Hair.
It was just your face, your smile, which you haven't lost.
Thank you.
Your smile just, it got the heart.
Well, I was always
quite
a chirpy character, and I think also timing had a lot to do with it as well, because every decade throws up a new pianist. You know, in the 50s it was Winifred Atwell, in the 60s it was Russ Conway, in the 70s it was me.
Yes,
and
it
then
was
in the
amazing.
80s, it was Richard Clayderman. So it all goes in cycles, you know.
So Richard Clayderman was in the 80s. Oh, I get
he was in the 80s.
I get the decades all mixed up.
I don't know where
honey.
the time goes.
I just don't know. But I know that in the Palladium, you are in the, is it the Hall of Fame or something? You got your picture in the...
There's a roll of honour at the stage door. And it lists not everybody, but a lot of the people that have had multiple appearances at the London Palladium. And of course I did 3 seasons there. My 3 seasons were with Vic Damone, Jack Jones and Julie Andrews. Ooh. They were my 3 seasons, but of course I've been back to do odd concerts there as well thereafter. And I now find myself on this wonderful Roll of Honour. So I'm very chuffed about that.
I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah, thank
the
you.
only Roll of Honour my husband got into is John Curry. They had John Curry on his ice show at the Palladium, and the guy who was watching the ice was supposed to be at night.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but I think he fell asleep. The ice melted and just wrecked the surround. Yeah, in the John Curry show.
Well, then that makes it impossible for him to do the show, doesn't it? Because it's like somebody saying to me, yes, Bobby Crush, you're a pianist, but we're taking the piano away from you today,
exactly.
So just go out and do what you can.
Well, you can imagine how much it cost them to get that, and I don't think it ever worked. I have to ask my husband again. I don't think the surround ever worked again, because it's kind of expanded.
Wow,
remember, there was that.
But he was a great ice skater, John Curry. My goodness.
He was so elegant.
I saw a documentary about him recently, and extraordinary character. Yeah.
He was just so elegant. My husband always said, when he looks at ice skaters, he always compares them to John Curry because he was
magnificent. Yeah.
Well, I don't know where to begin with you. You've done everything.
Where do I begin?
To tell a story, but are you Gene Pitney?
Yeah, I did a 45-date tour supporting Gene Pitney. And I had an album out at the time, so it was great to plug the new CD whilst we were out on the road.
Wow, well, that's a good place to plug it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he made of me, because he was very California cool. He was very laid back, and of course I'm the exact opposite. So I think he views me with a certain amount of hilarity. But
No, I
he
think
was a nice
he would.
man.
I tell you what, he would have probably loved it because you don't want somebody in the same.
Well, we didn't clash in
Music,
terms of, you know, I went
exactly.
on as a piano player, he went on as a singer,
Yes.
and so, but at the same time, we appealed to the same kind of audience.
Well, exactly.
So it was a good pairing. And that was very sad as well. I mean, he died quite young. I think he was only sort of like late 60s, and it was very unexpected.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's life, really.
Most
Because
certainly
this is it. This is why we grab everything we can, enjoy it while you can, do what you can while you're here, because you never know when you're.
Well, exactly. They say live every day as if it's your
live
last,
every
because
day
one day
as
you'll
if-
be right.
Precisely.
So there you are.
I don't think I've heard it.
That's a little homily
Ended
for you
like
to take
that.
away with you today.
Live every day as if it's your last, because one day
you'll be right.
you'll be. How many pantomimes have you done?
In excess of 35.
Wow.
Yeah, because I do it most years, and I did my first one in 1973 at the ABC Theatre in Stockton with Stephen Lewis from On the Buses playing Wishy Washy. No, he played Ebenezer.
Ebenezer,
I played Wishy Washy in Aladdin. And I do it most years. Of course, you get to a point where it's no longer seemly to still be playing the principal boy, because that's what I always used to be.
That's true, yeah.
I used to be Aladdin or Jack going up the beanstalk or Prince Charming. But you get to close to 40 and you think, no, I can't really get away with this anymore.
Well, that means I can't play Cinderella, doesn't it?
Well,
So,
maybe with
I can't
maybe
even
with a little
play
bit of,
a wicked stepsister.
you'd be great as a wicked queen in
Oh,
Snow
I would
White.
love that.
That's your role.
Oh, wicked queen.
That's
that would
what
be
I would cast you as.
me. My children would go, yeah,
The wickedest of all the wicked queens.
absolutely.
But I play Dame now because, of course, as you get older, the middle-aged to later life roles in Panto are either like Baron Hardup or Alderman Fitzwarren, and they're very often underwritten roles. But if you go into the Dame role, you get to wear the best frocks, you get to say some of the best lines, and you get the biggest cheer on the walk down.
Absolutely,
so what's not to
that
love?
is very true.
But it's hard work. I mean, as Dame, I do 11 costume changes per show.
I was just about to ask how many costumes, because the Dame.
I do 11. I do 5 in the first half and 6 in the second. And when you're doing twice daily, that's 22 costume changes, and it is knackering, you know.
And so how many? Tell me again. Pantomimes. How many shows a week?
You do 12 shows a week. You do six days
Excuse
a
me,
week,
did you say
2 shows
12?
a day. And if you're unlucky enough to sign a contract where sometimes they want 3 performances out of you as well, it can be more. But as a pretty elderly piano player now, I tend to try and steer away from the 3-day performances because it's just too much.
It is too much.
33 costume changes in a day. So I always say to my agent, don't accept any contracts that make me do 3 shows a day, because I just can't do that anymore.
That is too much.
It is too much.
Because when I was in Japan, I don't know when you do the first show, when I was in Japan playing Carmen, I had to do 3 shows on a matinee.
Yeah.
Carmen.
Yeah.
Carmen
And that's
is
a big
literally
scene.
4 hours. Thank you.
Yeah.
Literally 4 hours show, okay? So the first show, you're gonna love this. 9:30 in the morning.
Oh!
Packed out. 9:30 in the morning. 2:30 in the afternoon.
I'm barely up.
7:30. Thank you.
But I'm a bit like that as well. When I do Dame, and they schedule morning performances at like 10:30, and I'm sitting there putting false eyelashes on at
that's
5 to
hot.
10.
Oh.
When normally I'm just about having my second cup of coffee. You know. So it is, but you have to really be disciplined. You know.
Yes, this is the thing about the industry. I'm glad you said that, because, the reason this show, a lot of young people think you just get up in the morning and become a star.
Oh,
don't they?
no.
They don't know. It's 15 seconds of fame,
Elaine Stritch had a wonderful phrase, which was, "It's not the work, it's the stairs." So it's a way of saying it's not what you see on stage, it's
No.
all the stuff that goes
All
on
the
behind
work.
the scenes, all the
That's right.
prep. And, you know, when you're playing the dame in panto, you're the first one in the theatre every day because the preparation is so much, the makeup and everything. And you're always the last one out the building as well because of getting it all off at the end of the night.
Getting it all off at the end of the night. It's a lot of work.
And then all these young dancers will be knocking on the door saying, oh, we're going to the disco now. Do you want to come and, you know, be with us? And all I want to do is go back to the digs and have a mug of cocoa and a digestive biscuit, you know. So, because I know that the next morning I've got to get up and do it all over again, you know. So I think you have to pace yourself and you have to take it seriously, you know. This is a hard profession.
It is, but you know, I mean, I think the thing with the industry now is that there's a lot of newcomers and they've come not through the graft, they just come through maybe a talent show or reality program. That's the one.
Well, the likes of you and I, you know, back in the 70s would have worked the club scene, which was thriving then.
Yes.
But of course, the people that are coming along now, they don't have that.
They don't have that, yeah.
Like the Bailey Circus
and
Blazers at Windsor and all of those kind of dates, they've all gone.
They've all gone.
And they were really good learning grounds for people like you and I.
Because I remember the first time, well, a few times, actually I had problems from the audience. You know, when the audience...
Oh, we've all had that.
It's such good training, isn't it? You survive one, you can survive anything.
Exactly.
You know, and now, you know, a lot of the reality TV people who come through, they don't take it seriously.
No.
So, you know, they think they can call you in the morning and go, oh, I'm sorry, I can't come in. No. I've got a headache. Headache?
Exactly.
When did we ever miss a show for a
Let me tell you what the bane of my life is, because I go to the theatre a lot, and it appears to happen probably more in New York than it does here, but you go to the theatre and you open up the programme, and all these little bits of paper fall out saying the role of so-and-so will be played by so-and-so, and the role of so-and-so will be played... And... it would appear to me that people go off at the drop of a hat now.
It's crazy.
Whereas in the old days, I mean, can you...
the show had to go on.
Exactly. And I've always been brought up to believe that.
Yeah, me too.
And it irritates me when people... say, oh, I've got a bit of a tickle, I'm not sure that I can go on. Go on.
Go on.
People have paid to see you. You're here to do a job of work.
This is it, because when I was playing Carmen, I remember having malaria. And it was
malaria?
It was the worst kind of malaria. I was hallucinating.
Oh my
I had no understudy. I went on and played Carmen. But the funny thing I can remember is, because you hallucinate, it was poor Joe, it was Gary Wilmot, was about to stab me with a snake. He had a knife in his hand. And all I could see was this wriggly snake. But I had to say to myself, because I know about malaria.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real.
It's
I've never seen the stage on snake on stage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the first press night, I dislocated this thumb, which you can still show there.
Oh, wow.
It came like that. Yeah. And I went on, did the show. When I was off, they bandaged the whole thing, put a brown, plaster and sling on. I went up, finished the show.
I might be tempting fate by telling you this, but in a 46-year career, which mine has been, I think I've only ever missed five performances.
Wow, touch wood. I don't think I've ever missed any.
I've been on with illness, bereavement, breakup of relationships, all kinds of terrible happenings, but I've always taken the job seriously.
Me too.
And it saddens me to see people coming into the profession that don't take it quite as
I know, it's very
seriously
sad because
as you and I do.
I often say to them, okay, you have to imagine your audience. Because somewhere out there is this young lady who has been, getting this all day, and she works at the counter of some big store or the other. And people do come and abuse. People are so rude sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And she's thinking, thank God I'm going to see Bobby Crush tonight, No, seriously. My girlfriends and I, we're just going to doll up and go.
Yeah.
Then they get there. And Bobby's not there. Why? Because he's got a bad throat. Excuse me? Or he's got, it's really... And I say to them, imagine, that's your audience.
Well, the last panto that I did, which was last Christmas, I was in Barnstable in North Devon, and the last week of the run, I got bronchitis. So it wasn't just that the voice was a bit croaky. I just felt in myself drained, but somehow, Dr. Theatre.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
My book, I launched my book earlier this year. I did MasterChef, Celebrity MasterChef.
Oh, right.
I had never watched it.
A friend of mine's just about to do it.
Oh, really? I had never watched it, and I just thought, oh, how difficult can it be to just slap curry and rice on a plate? Okay, so it wasn't quite like that. But it was the opening night of my Billy and Me show, and I had musicians I'd never worked with, a band. I had a band call, so I said I would do it because I was replacing somebody else who dropped out at the last minute. Right. I said, I would do it as long as I can get back. I was at the Pheasantry in Chelsea.
Oh, right, played it.
They didn't get me back on time. Exactly. I ran to the underground. I haven't used the underground for 40 years. Ran to the underground. My husband Stephen picked me up from the station. We got to the venue, and I only had 15 minutes just to talk to them, and we had 2 hours show to do.
Oh, that's shocking, isn't it?
Terrible. And at the end of it, I was in a hospital. Severe dehydration.
Right.
I was in the hospital, and I got out of the hospital the next day to go to my book launch. And, Stephen said to me, should we cancel the show? I said, why? So I did the show. I can't remember the show, but I did the show. You see, the show must go on.
That says a lot for your dedication and for your spirit, and the fact that you came up during an era.
Yes, thank God.
That I did as well, where we were encouraged to, go along with the phrase, the show must go on.
It's called consideration.
Yeah.
Because then I realized that I had people who had come from Ireland.
Yeah.
So, can you imagine?
Well, I became known as the understudy's nightmare because anyone that ever understudied me never got on. Despite the fact that they'd be putting stuff in my tea and soaping the stairs and all that.
That makes two of us. Honestly, that makes two of us.
I would absolutely have to be at death's door not to go on.
Honestly, that is true.
And the occasions that I didn't go on were the days that I lost my parents. One time I had the most shocking food poisoning. And then there was another occasion where it was totally out of my hands that I couldn't do the show. But in the main, I will always strive to be there and do a good job.
Absolutely, me too. I mean, I've been, actually, touch wood. Okay, I touch this wood. I have never missed a show.
No.
49 years.
Yeah.
I have never missed a show. Actually, that's amazing.
It is, But it's what we were saying earlier about also Dr. Theatre, the moment that the spot hits. I don't know, do you remember Brian Cant from Play Away?
Oh, yes,
And he was the voice of Trumpton and what have you.
Yes.
I did panto with him a few years ago. And it was the one and only time that I've ever played bad. I played the wicked stepmother in Cinderella, and he was Baron Hardup. So we had a lot of scenes together, he and I. And he came to rehearsals in the light of having recently had a stroke. And in rehearsals, he was quite doddery and a bit of a worry. And I did actually say to my agent, is this actually going to happen? Is this going to get off the ground? And yet, on opening night, he's in the wings and he's like that. And then suddenly he walks out on stage and he sees the spotlight and he's upright and he does the lines and it's marvellous. And then the moment he gets back into the wings, it's that again. Yeah. And I'm absolutely convinced that there is something in that the moment the spot hits, it kind of takes over.
It really does. I think the way I always see it is it really is the spirit of the people out in the audience. There's something. There is a life force.
Yes.
That just comes to you.
And also it's the feeling that you don't want to let anybody down.
That's it. It's down to consideration again, which is what drives us on. I've got to do it. It's only how long I can survive that. And of course, the minute they cheer or applaud, that's it. They've just given you
I think that's why I never did drugs. I never did drink.
Me
I
too.
love the applause from the audience, and that's the high that
is
I get.
the high.
Yeah.
What is it they say now from the social media? You have dopamine. I'm going, I don't need any. I've got plenty of it, thank you.
Exactly.
I get it from just seeing the joy in the audience, preparing, you know.
The first time that I ever received a standing ovation from an audience was such a thrill that I didn't sleep the whole of that night.
I know
because
the
I was like, oh my God, they stood up.
They
and
stood up.
And it was I was doing a show on the QE2. I mean, that goes to show how long ago that was, because it's been out of service for years. But it was a mainly American audience who had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
They just knew that I was a famous piano player from the UK. And so they had no preconceived ideas. They didn't know anything about the old Bobby Crush with the long hair and the jaunty playing and what have you. And they just accepted me for what I did that night. And they let me know about it at the end of the evening. Fantastic. And it was wonderful. And I thought, why does anybody need any other kind of artificial stimulation when you've got this?
Unbelievable. You know what? I mean, the first show I did was hair.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. It was a den of iniquity.
Did you go
No,
nude?
I didn't do the nude scene.
Oh.
I didn't do the nude scene because they hired me. I actually replaced Masha Hunt.
Oh, right.
So they hired me for the high note. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And that was how my audition, went. And I thought the whole scene, the drugs thing, I never did any of that. Alcohol on my birthday, they baked a cake of marijuana. They laced my drink with LSD. Right. I never touched it because luckily I'm very stubborn. I didn't know how stubborn I was, but I was very stubborn. If you imagine a whole company trying to get you to take a drink when you've never had alcohol, because we used to climb over people's heads in slow motion. And I thought, I'm going to kill somebody or kill myself. I don't even know what alcohol does to you or how it tastes. You
needed to have all your senses.
I needed to.
There.
And up till today, I have to have all my senses. There was only one time I had a sore throat and I had to go and do cabaret. It was a Miss something Oxford or Miss United, I can't remember, but somewhere in Oxford. And I was given, somebody said, oh, I know what you should have, a hot toddy.
Oh, right. Well, that's whiskey-based, isn't it? So.
Apparently, I went out there and I spoke a different language. So it was never going to happen again. Yeah. Apparently, I said everything backwards.
Well, I will never drink before a show.
No.
Gallons of water, of course, because I'm a great believer in keeping hydrated.
I should have learned that from you.
Yeah, in my act, I do an audience request spot to finish my act, and I never know from one show to the next what I'm going to get.
Ooh, that's
asked
tough.
For. And what I do is I take 12 songs from the audience, and I don't write any of it down. It's all up there, and I just reel them off one after the other. And I couldn't, for the life of me, even consider doing that if I'd had a drink. I need to keep all my senses sharp, because that takes an awful lot of concentration.
It takes... Well, that's hard work. I
like hard work. That never harmed anyone, a bit of hard work.
I'm trying to think of what you just said. 12 songs.
12 songs, one after the other. Yeah.
You do not write them down.
No. I'm very lucky in that I have a very quick ear, whereby if I hear a song 2 or 3 times, I can form the chords in my head, and it goes from my head to my hands. And then once I play through it a couple of times, I then file it in my brain box. And it's extraordinary. I mean, I started out as a teenager playing in pubs, and that's how I started getting a wide repertoire. And there's a very good chance that if somebody calls out from the audience a song that maybe I haven't played in 20 years, that I will still remember it.
No way.
And it's my old pub training.
Okay, that explains why you're a star. Seriously, because that is beyond.
Well, I think it's unique, because I've never seen anybody do that.
No,
before.
I can say that. I tell you what, at this age, it takes me longer to learn a song. You know, songs I could learn in a day or 3 days.
Yeah, but you have to remember lyrics as well. As a pianist, I mean, I only have to remember the melody line.
Do you know, so much so that I don't travel with a band anymore. I travel with a pianist because I need to be in control of my senses all the time. I can't be worrying about 5 men behind me, because I like the point of being just the audience is what counts, not what's happening.
Well, I always work with the band. When I play places like Crazy Coqs or the Pheasantry or whatever, I always take a 3-piece in with me, which is another keyboard player on synthesizers and what have you to give me string lines, a bass player and a drummer, and there's me on acoustic piano. But when I do the audience requests, that is purely solo. Because I say it's something that we can't pre-plan. So I do say to the boys, if you know them, feel free to join in. If you don't, just leave it to me. But whatever I finish up on, I will always ensure that it's in the key of C. And so when you see me do that, the count up on my fingers to make sure I've got all the songs, that's your cue that I'm coming up for the last one. So even if you haven't played with me up until that point, at the end, give me a big chord of C, so that at least we're all in the same key together and it doesn't go... But I love it. I really enjoy it as probably the highlight of my act.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Thank you so much. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for asking me. And it's so delightful to see you after all these years.
I know. Thank you.
And I must say, as I said to you earlier, off camera, but I will say this on camera, this woman has a portrait in her attic because she looks no different to when we first met over 40 years ago. You're extraordinary.
From your lips to God's ears. Well, what I'd like to say to you today is what Bobby said. Okay, hard work. Hard work. I mean, it's hard, but if you love what you're doing, you can just actually sail through it. I couldn't learn 12, memorize 12 requests, let alone even play them. But that's the kind of work that goes into entertaining. And you have to be considerate. You got to consider other people because that's what makes them love you in return. You give and you receive. Take care. See you next week.